And welcome to episode 10 of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. My name is Amy, and you can find me online on Instagram and Etsy at Noble Character Crafts. You can find me on Ravelry at Noble Character, and I also have a group for this podcast on Ravelry under Noble Character Crafts Podcast. In that group, you will find the show notes for this episode and previous episodes, so please join me over there. Today is Friday, January 5th, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me. For all new and returning viewers, welcome. I am so thankful for you joining me today. I am coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live on a farm with my husband and our 5 children. This is a podcast all about my life as a knitter, a crocheter, and a hand dyer of yarn. So again, thank you so much for joining me. First off, just an announcement to remind you of the current knit along that I am co-hosting with Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast. We are co-hosting a cable cal that is running until next month, February 1st. The cable cal is for any project that you have that includes cables, and whips are allowed. Both Kay and I have chatter threads and finished object threads in both of our Ravelry groups, so please join both of us and enter any projects that you have that include cables. Today I am wearing my Starting Point wrap by Joji Locatelli, and I made this in all of my own hand-dyed yarn on my Radiant base, which is my 70% superwash merino and 30% silk base. And I made this when Joji Locatelli was hosting her knit along, a mystery knit along for this pattern. So it is probably one of my most worn knitted items. I have no finished objects this week, but I have a lot of works in progress. So I'll get started with that. My first work in progress, I am holding in one of my new bags that I got. Any yarn that is purchased from my Etsy shop, I send in a project bag like this, but I did not have bags that were this large before, and I just recently got these new larger bags. They were able to hold 5 skeins of yarn, so that's really nice to have that option. And I am making the Time Trades shawl by Caitlin Hunter of Boylan Knitworks. And this is a gift for one of my very good friends. And I again am making this also in my Radiant base, in all of my own hand-dyed yarn. So this progress keeper is showing where I was last time I podcasted. I am now into the, let's see, each 2 color band is a section. So I am now into the 4th section of the first half. There's 5 sections in the first half, and so I'm on the 4th section of the first half. And I really am enjoying this pattern. It's pretty. There's a lot of garter stitch in it. There's quite a few rows of purling, and then there's also the lace work. So, but you know, you get quite a bit of a break in between each lace work row. So I've really enjoyed this. I love seeing the new color worked into each, you know, as you get to a new color. It's so exciting. So again, I'm using my own hand-dyed yarn. I started with the black color, is called Night, and then this deep plum is called Honor. This is called Steadfast, and then I have Satisfied here. And then just a light stripe here of Tranquil. And now I'm back into the Satisfied color. So here it is in the cake. And then I will be going into, in the next section I'll be starting to use this Abundance colorway. And then last I'll use the Sweetness colorway. So I am absolutely loving working on this project, and even though I have tons of whips going on right now, this is definitely one of my favorites that I'm working on right now. So I am using ChiaoGoo needles. All of my needles are ChiaoGoo, and these are on size 6 4mm needles. And I am so excited to give this to my friend. I cannot wait. So really excited for that. Okay, my next whip is in my Creative Frenzies project bag, and I'm test knitting the Prongs Sock pattern by Nicole Bracey of Woolfield. This is a new pattern that she's coming out with, and she's hoping to have it out, I think, mid-January. So this is actually turned sideways on my sock blocker so that you can see the cabling, but you know, this is how it actually sits on the foot. But I just wanted to show you the cabling down the front of the sock better. I just love this pattern so much. Such a beautiful cable pattern. And this progress keeper is showing where I was last time I podcasted. I am using my own hand-dyed yarn on my Pitter Patter base, which is a 75-25 blend, on my Tranquil colorway. And I really am happy with these. I cannot say thank you enough to so many of you that commented with tips of how to help my laddering on my socks that I'm having trouble with. So many of you gave me wonderful tips, and most of them were very similar in that people recommended that I pull the second stitch on the needle very tight, and sometimes even the third stitch, people said, even pull that one tight and pull the cable needle close. One of you even has a tutorial for that, so I will link to that. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate all your tips for help so that I can hopefully get my laddering, get rid of my laddering. But I still am having trouble. So yeah, that's horrible. Oh. I'm doing it. I'm pulling the second stitch tight, but I think my problem is the ChiaoGoo cables on the regular needles are very, very stiff, and they pull on the stitches quite a bit. So I just received an interchangeable set of the mini twist ChiaoGoo, and the cables on these are so much more flexible. I showed them to you last week, one of the cables, but I decided just to order a set because I really liked how these cables are so much more flexible. So I'm going to be, I just got these yesterday, and so I'm going to be switching this project over to one of these sets because I think that is what is really going to help me, along with following the tips that you all gave me. I'm really, really hopeful that that will help because yeah, I have been pulling on that stitch so tightly still, and it still is causing bad laddering. I don't know, I just have such a horrible time with that. I'm hoping that that's my problem, is just the needle or the cable on these needles. I'm hoping that it will help. Anyway, I have done the heel flap. It is an Eye of Partridge heel flap, which I hadn't done before, but I really like the, I'll put that sideways too so you can see that better. I really like the look of that. It's almost like lattice work, I think. So anyway, I need to get working on these because she needs, she wanted us to be done with the test knit by the middle of the month, but I'll hopefully be able to get this first sock done this week, this upcoming week, so that I can get my notes over to her. But really the pattern is beautifully written. Here is Tranquil in the Cake. Just a very light pink. Okay. Okay, my next whip is got a story. Okay, so yesterday I posted on Instagram my next work in progress, which is my Felton Slippers that I'm making for my husband. I am using the Men's Loafer Slippers pattern by Monique Ray. It is a paid for pattern, and so I made the first slipper. Here, I'll insert a photo right here of what I had done already. And I just wanted to show, you know, how funny it looks before you felt it compared to my foot. It's, you know, so huge. So anyway, I posted that on Instagram, and my good friend Leslie, hi Leslie, she sent me, or made a comment on my Instagram post saying, hey, you should check out the episode 4 of the Yarn Hoarder podcast. And she made some felted slippers, and she put on rubber soles on the bottom of her slippers that she made, and you should check that out. So I had actually just, ironically, I had just finished watching Amber's most recent episode that she had put out for the Yarn Hoarder podcast. So anyway, I went back and watched episode 4 right after I had just put the slipper into the hot water, into the washing machine in hot water, you know, to get it felted. So I put it in the wash. I sat down and watched Amber's podcast. I thought, you know, I'll just get some tips from her to see, you know, how these leather soles worked. Anyway, Amber is very wonderfully explaining the pattern, and she makes a comment about how you're supposed to hold two threads of worsted weight yarn together when you're making this pattern. And I started having an argument with Amber. I said, no, you're not. What? So I grabbed the pattern. Can you read right here with me? Because I didn't see it. Yarn is used double through entire pattern. I did not hold my yarn double through the entire pattern. I made the whole slipper with only one strand of yarn. So, I mean, I thought after I figured this out, I was like, well, that makes sense, because the slipper was really, you know, thin and floppy. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of floppy, but I kept thinking, why this is thin? I don't really know if this is going to be durable enough to hold up for very long. Well, it's supposed to be doubled. Oh my goodness. And then I also made several other mistakes. I didn't, well, here's the slipper. So Amber also said that she washes her slippers 3 times to get them to be felted to the right spot. So anyway, this has only been washed once, and it's just a single thread of yarn, so it's not thick enough. Anyway, I also sewed the flap, the top flap part, all the way down, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to leave a bit of a lip right here. And then Amber also uses a crochet hook to slip stitch the top flap on instead of sewing it on, which leaves a ridge up here on the top, which is kind of cool looking, and I think I will try that. And then also, I knew I had made a mistake about once you make the sole of the foot and then you pick up stitches around to work in the round, and I did not follow the pattern correctly there either, and I picked up the, I was making the size 11-12 for my husband, and then when I went to go pick up stitches, I started picking up the largest size, which is a size 13-14, and I didn't realize that I had made a mistake until I was like 6 or 7 rows into that section working in the round. Anyway, so I made several mistakes on this first one, so it's okay that I have to go back and start over. Anyway, I'm just disappointed in myself for not looking at the pattern more closely. So anyway, I cast on again last night with 2 balls of yarn instead of only 1. I am using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in the Bittersweet Heather colorway, which is a super dark chocolate brown. And, oh, my needles fell out, but it's only this one stitch. Okay, so last night I was able to make this whole sole of the foot. And it's actually so much more pleasurable to make it using 2 strands of yarn, I think. It's just so much squishier, and I really enjoyed working with the 2 strands. Amber made a comment in her podcast about how it really hurts her to make these, but it didn't bother me too much at all, really. She just thought that using such thick, you know, having 2 strands of such thick wool was really hard to work with, but anyway, I didn't have any problems. I really enjoyed it, and it works up obviously so fast. And it's so funny looking, isn't it? I mean, look at that. Ah. So I also have decided to go down to the size 10, 11 shoe size. My husband wears a size 11. And so the pattern says you can, the sizes in the pattern are, you know, 10, 11 or 11, 12. And so when I first started making them, I thought I'm going to go up just so they won't be too small. You know, if they're a little bit bigger, maybe that'd be okay. But after I made this first one and noticed how, you know, it didn't shrink very much after one wash. And I put this on my husband last night and it was way too big, like 2 or 3 inches too long yet. So I just want to make sure that it's not too big. So I decided to go down to the 10, 11 shoe size. And yeah, so I'm now just ready to pick up around the foot, and I'll be sure I've circled the right numbers I'm supposed to pick up now, so I'll be sure to pick up the right amount of stitches this time, and hopefully I have learned from my mistakes and this one will go quite a bit better. But anyway, oh, and by the way, I thought that was so interesting that Amber was making this exact same pattern that I was making. It was very helpful because she gave so many tips that I will definitely use. And I also ordered the leather soles that Amber put on her slippers because I think that that will be really helpful to make them more durable. I ordered a set for my husband, and I'm pretty confident that I'll be making a pair for myself as well. So I ordered a pair of those leather soles for myself too, off of the Lavender Hills Knits Etsy shop. I am using size 11 needles, which are 8mm. Chow Goose again. So, yeah. My husband made a comment last night after I let him know that I had made a mistake. He was like, man, I'm never going to get these slippers because I guess it's been taking me too long. So I should probably try to get those done for him pretty quickly because he would really like them. Before I go on to my other works in progress, I did just want to show you all the worsted weight socks that I made that I let you all know have a hole in them, and that's, you know, why I'm excited about making these slippers, because I'm hopeful that I will be able to wear my socks without making holes in them. So anyway, this is a pair of worsted weight socks that I made using Wool of the Andes yarn. And I wore them for a little over a week before I noticed that I had this huge hole. And somebody commented, maybe you just dropped a stitch, but you can see right there where the yarn has been torn. And it's pretty threadbare right there too. And anyway, I still haven't decided yet if I'm going to try to patch these or maybe rip back and make the toe again. Well, I would only wear them in my slippers, because wearing them just barefoot, obviously they just don't hold up long enough. And even in the second sock, you can see a hole starting there. So anyway, I will probably, I don't know, I still haven't decided what I'm going to do with them. I mentioned that I might turn them into leg warmers. I might, I don't know, maybe I should put leather soles on the bottoms of these. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to show you all those since there were a few comments about them. Okay, my next works in progress are new cast-ons. My first one is the Lily Cardigan by Amy Self-Lindland of the Amy's Little Kingdom podcast, and I am so excited for this pattern. I just think the design is so gorgeous, and I'm super excited to have it in my wardrobe. So I did make a swatch. I am using, I love this color so much. I am using Knit Picks palette in the Aurora Heather colorway, which is a fingering weight, 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And here it is in the ball. I love it so much. So So anyway, I was able to get pretty good gauge when I did my gauge swatch. I had one extra stitch, so my, I'm a little bit bigger than, no, I'm sorry, I had one less stitch in my gauge per the 4 inches. So my gauge was a little bit bigger than what it should have been, but not much. And I'm okay with that, because if it's a little bit more roomy, that is fine with me. I just don't want it to be too tight. So anyway, I am on the 14th row, I believe. And you start at the back, or I mean at the top, and it's just, this is the back cabling here. Isn't that beautiful? I love the cables. So this is part of the cable cowl, as well as the prong socks. I didn't mention that, but another project for the cable cowl, but this will most definitely not be done by February 1st, but maybe. I really am enjoying working on this project too. But so anyway, Amy does such an awesome job of walking you step by step through the first 12 rows, very detailed, and it's so clear about what you need to do. So now I've gone through the center cable pattern once already. I've started it again the second time. This one stitch, there, can you see that? It is such a neat stitch. It's hard to see on this dark color, but you wrap your yarn around some stitches to make that neat little knotted section, and I just love that so much. It's so cool looking. Anyway, I am super happy with how this is turning out so far. The pattern, again, is just so well written. I did have a question that I needed to ask her about this, and she responded to me so quickly. So I am just so pleased with this, and I can't wait to work on it more. And she is also hosting a knit along for this pattern. So if you would like to also make it, you can certainly join in. It just started on January 1st. So anyway, I am so excited about this. Oh, and this is also in my Creative Frenzies project bag. Okay. My next work in progress was also something I cast on January 1st, and it's also for a knit along. Bethany of the Woolberry Fiber Co. podcast is hosting a scrap along. The Woolberry Scrap Along is what it's called, and it's for making a pair of scrappy socks, which I haven't done before, so I'm excited about these. So I decided to start both of them with black, my night colorway, and then I'm planning on using the black on the heels and the toes as well, just to give them a little bit of, I want them to be able to match a little bit, but that's the only thing that I'm matching. I am making these 2 at a time, as you can see, on US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles. And these are actually on one of my new sets from the ChowGoo Mini Twist interchangeable set that I got. I switched these over this morning to these cables, and they are just so much better. I think I'm going to love these so much more than the regular red lace ones that I was using. So I am just randomly grabbing a ball from my scrap yarn basket to add on here. This one I have my enriched colorway, and then I'm just started working on my wisdom colorway. And this is on my sparkly Twinkle Toes base, the enriched color. And then on this one I have my confidence colorway, the hot pink, and then I've just started using my life-giving colorway. So I am just using, I'm working 10 rows if the scrap ball that I have is enough to make 10 rows. You know, there's some that are smaller that might not go a total of 10 rows, but my plan is to go 10 rows before I switch to another color. So anyway, oh, I did 20 rows of 1x1 twisted ribbing for the cuff. And I cast on 68 stitches, which is a new number for me. I've made 72, which is too baggy, and I've made 64 on larger needles, which fits well. So since I am using size 1 needles, I wanted to go down a little bit. So I'm trying out 68 stitches to see how that fits my foot. All right, this is super addictive too because, you know, switching the colors all the time just really keeps my interest. This is in my Tuft Woolens project bag. And then another new Scrappy project that I started, I am also really excited about. I am making a Scrappy Blanket, another Scrappy Blanket, because I have another one on the go too, but I wanted to make a crocheted Scrappy Blanket using hexies. So this is so fun. They're so cute to work up. I love crocheted hexies so much. So I am joining as I go. So you just, I started with this one, and then as you make another one, you just slip stitch into the spaces in between each stitch to join them. There are tutorials online that you can certainly look up for that. I'll try to link to one of those in the show notes as well. But anyway, I think all of these are my own hand-dyed yarn, except for this blue is from a Knit Picks Felici ball. But, oh, and this middle one right here is from a Patton's Croy color. I think all of the other ones are my own hand-dyed yarn. And this one right here, when I made that hexie, I just loved those colors together so much. So I will show you a little bit later a new project that I'm going to be starting using these two colors, and then I think I'm going to, I made a new colorway that is similar to this, but just a little bit different that I think I'm going to be using. But anyway, I just wanted to show you where I got the inspiration for that in the project that I'm going to be starting. So I love this so much, and I crochet over the tails as I work along, so that I don't have as many ends to weave in. I just have to weave in the center starting point, which I've done. I've weaved in quite a few of them already. I just have a couple here that I need to weave in. But when you crochet over the tails as you're working, then you don't have nearly as many ends to weave in, which is really nice. Anyway, I am just loving working on this project as well. Of course, this is going to take me forever to finish, but it's super fun just to work on one. I should time how long it takes me to make one hexie, because it really doesn't take too long to put one on. So anyway, I'm loving it. Okay, and then I also wanted to show you, this isn't a new cast on, but I haven't shown my other Scrappy Blanket in a while. I am also making an Excavation Scrappy Blanket. And this is an Afghan that starts on this corner, and you leave a tail at the beginning of the row, and then you work across and turn and come back with the same color before you cut off another tail at the end. So this all these ends will become fringe for the Afghan when it's complete. Whenever I finish a project using fingering weight, I just add in the colors that I have used. So I don't work on this too terribly often, but this stitch marker is showing you where I was when I first showed this project. So I have worked in all these yarns from projects I have made since then. I'm currently working the colors that I'm putting into my Times Trade shawl as I finish them, as I finish the color that I've been putting it in. So anyway, I really love this project too, but also a super long-term project. Okay, I want to thank all of you so much for the entries that you made to the giveaway that I announced last week. I am giving away a shawl kit for the Stracciatella shawl that is designed by Madeline Windsor of Kingfisher Knits. And I am also giving away a set of 3 skeins of my own hand-dyed yarn to make that shawl. So here is the yarn that is being part of the shawl kit. You get 2 skeins of my Vineyard colorway on my Radiant base, which again is the 70% superwash merino, 30% silk base, and 1 skein of the Observe colorway. And I asked, and you also get one of my project bags. And each skein comes with a stitch marker. And I asked you all to answer the question of what is one goal that you have for 2018. And I related with so many of the answers, but the winner is, I did random number generator and it picked number 26, which is Asteroid. So congratulations. I believe your name is Patricia, and she is from Lisbon, Portugal. And she answered that her goal for 2018 is to knit at least 3 sweaters and a skirt for herself. She says, I'd love to have a wardrobe of handmade items made with beautiful wool. I already have many shawls, so I will probably just decide to knit 1 more along the year and maybe 4 or 5 pairs of socks. I'd love to try brioche and sticking, even if it still intimidates me. And that is exactly what my goal is for 2018 as well. I want to try brioche and sticking, and it does intimidate me. But congratulations. If you can get in contact with me, I will just message me on Ravelry, and I will be happy to send this shawl kit to you. And then I will also get in contact with Madeline to have you get the pattern for her stracciatella shawl as well. Congratulations. So every time I podcast, I've been trying to show a kit for a shawl that you could make using my hand-dyed yarn. And this week I am going to show you a shawl that I am getting ready to cast on. I know, another whip, right? Like I need another work in progress. But Christy Glass announced that she is going to be hosting a year-long knit-along to make the Doodler shawl by Stephen West. And her daughter actually picked out some of my hand-dyed yarn to make her Doodler shawl. So anyway, I saw that Christy was hosting that knit-along, and I thought it would be so fun to join in. She is doing this knit-along with her daughter, Olive, and just as kind of a mother-daughter bonding thing. So anyway, I have decided to join in. So like I showed you on that hexie that I made, I really loved these colors together. This is my enriched colorway, and this is my honor colorway. And then I used a different one on that hexie, but I wanted to, for the main color of the shawl, I'm going to be using, I believe, this new colorway that I just dyed up. I don't have a name for it yet. But I wanted something that was light with light speckles on it that included both of these colors as well as some black. So that's what I did. And these are still wet. That's why they're not, you know, rolled up yet, but I just dyed these yesterday, so they're still drying a little bit, but I'm really happy with that new colorway, and I think these 3 together will be so fun. So the Doodler shawl, I just want to try to show these all together. The Doodler shawl has like it's made using the sample that he shows on his page, uses a light color for the main color, and then there's a section that almost looks like, I think, like a sun with rays going out. So I'm going to use that for this enriched color for that section. And then there's a border he has in a hot pink color, but I'm going to use the purple for that section. That's my plan anyway. So that is starting on Sunday, January 7th. So if you all want to join in, that would be so fun to have lots of people making this. And it's all year long. So the idea is to just work on this on Sundays. That's what Christy and her daughter Olive will be doing, I understand. They're just going to be working on it together on Sundays. So that's why it is going to last all year. So anyway, I'm excited to do that. So as you can see, we have taken down our Christmas decorations, which makes me kind of sad, but on the other hand, it's nice to have, you know, the house clean again. And my husband just built a larger dining room table for us, and we have an open concept kitchen, dining room, living room, and we had our Christmas tree in the corner of the dining room that goes, you know, it goes from the kitchen to the dining room to the living room, and we had the Christmas tree in the corner there. And since he made a new, larger table, it was just a little bit cramped in there with the Christmas tree. So it was kind of nice to get the Christmas tree down so that we have a little bit more room to get around in there. But we have had so much bitterly freezing cold weather. And we have a major case of cabin fever that has set into our home. I am affected, probably the worst. I mean, well, I haven't left the house in over a week, and I'm ready to get out of the house. So I'm hoping that when my husband gets home from work today, I'm just going to go shopping just to get groceries. But just getting out of the house to get groceries is a wonderful break for me. And after, you know, I'm a homebody, so I love being home. But after a week or more of being in the house, I need to get out. I need a break. So anyway, and then I believe my husband and I are going to get to go out on a date tomorrow because my mother-in-law is planning to come watch the children while they have their quiet time, nap time in the afternoon. So I'm excited for that as well. And it's supposed to warm up this weekend a little bit, so I'm thankful for that. I've tried to get the kids to go outside every day, but it only lasts 5 or 10 minutes before they're frozen to the bone. So we haven't been able to get out very much. So I'm really excited for a break. Anyway, I think that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. I really appreciated all of the comments that I received on the last podcast episode. So please continue to comment if you have anything you'd like to share. I really appreciate all of you watching, and if you liked this episode, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you would like. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye!